Hello, welcome to our Holocaust Memorial Project Trail. So, our group we're Mr. Premiano A4, Dante, that's me, Jonathan, Jeremy, and Carlos. And today, rather than your usual memorial, we have more of a memorial trail. So, a memorial trail for Victor Roma. So, how it's going to work is, before I got here, is it's basically going to go on a trail through his life, starting at his childhood, going all the way up to his untimely death. So as you see here, this part represents his childhood. As you can see, it's just kind of like cheerful. There's flowers everywhere. There's a nice fountain because it kind of represents that his life was pretty good as a child. Nice happy fountain, grass, flowers. Up here, if you go in this building, stamp collection. Now we put this in because Victor Rona, one of the things he did, he had a very nice stamp collection. So took item frames and kind of placed random things in them, just kind of represent stamps. Yeah, because he collected stamps. That was one of his hobbies, I guess. Another thing we added a giant iron sword because he was a fencer. He actually, in one of his competitions, beat an all-Jewish team. Over here, we have a walk-on piano, if you'll notice, because Victor, he was talented not only in sports such as fencing, he was also musically talented. And I know you guys cannot hear it, but if you could, you would realize that hitting all these made a noise. They all have notes. So he was musically talented, physically talented. Basically, as a child, he had a really good life. He just excelled in everything he did. We also, if you'll see over here, let's follow the trail since we made it. We have a library because he was also interested in literature. Victor Rona was a very smart kid. He was in high school. He was interested in math. He was interested in, like I said, music and sports. And so we have a library here. It's kind of represent, some reading, some books, just because he was interested in literature. Oh, of course it started raining. Oh well. And then we have flowers all around, just to represent like how happy his life was, like it was great. And then if you'll notice up here, we have a Star of David. Oh, it's kind of dark, but we have a Star of David in each part because it kind of represents like how his life was going. So as you can see in the Star of David, we use gold, wood, and glowstone because it's kind of like the wood and gold kind of gives it like an at-home feel because in his childhood, he just, he had a good home, he had a good family, a good life. Gold kind of represents his like overachieving, like he excelled in everything, and the dark wood kind of represents like home, and the glowstone, just represents his bright life. Unfortunately, his childhood didn't really last, I guess, when he was younger, but for how much it was worth it, he had a really great childhood. High school, however, that's when the Holocaust hit. So, section we have is kind of his early life as dealing with the Holocaust. So, ghetto/concentration camp. Victor and his family were moved to a ghetto as soon as I guess you could call it the Holocaust hit their area. They were moved into a horrible ghetto where like the houses were torn down, and as you can see, these houses we built, they're crappy, Living in one of these would absolutely suck, like these top floors, and everything's just horrible and torn up, They were forced to live in these places, and then soon afterwards, they were shipped off to concentration camp. So you can see over here, we also have a factory in the ghettos because, people would like work when they moved to the ghettos. Pretty neat factory. If you'll see over here, we have summer camp sign up. And then right here, we have a concentration camp. Now you might be wondering before we enter, why would you have a concentration camp and a memorial? It's supposed to be the positive things about his life. We did take that in consideration before building this, and the reason we put this in is because when you realize like it might have been a bad thing in his life, but it brought out the good things, and that's another thing. He was put into a ghetto, then moved into a concentration camp, separated from his family, And yet he still survived all the way through the concentration camp until being liberated. And that's why we kept it in here, because despite what he went through, despite everything, all the challenges he faced, he survived. Now, if you have all this, ye old potty, let's just kind of take a walk through the showers, because they would gas them. Actually, they would take the showers and turn them into gas chambers. Oops. Oh, um, okay. Just ignore what happened, but yeah, they would take showers and turn them into gas chambers. And then we kind of have just a little building in here, kind of like to talk. I guess it's kind of like registration, although there's not really one, just for decoration. Over here we have kind of the cells, because it was kind of like being in a prison. Like they kept you in these horrible conditions, and we kind of just like represented it with like a prison with these. We have another cell block over here, if you'll see. And also, Victor, he wasn't just moved into any concentration camp where he was just held. Because he was young and fit, he was actually moved to a work camp where he had to work for them. So we kind of put in, like charcoal, a pile of charcoal, and some minecarts going down to a cave, so that they had to work and to support it, and they would do like a lot of jobs. This is just like one of them. Just kind of just represents it, They did many stuff to help support the war effort. So, as you can see up here, we have another Star of David representing this section of his life. And we chose iron, and I think it is gray clay, because despite the difficulties that he went through in his difficult time in his life, he actually like persevered through it. So, and the iron kind of brings out that like side, like he was still shining through despite the darkness, which is kind of represented by that. So we kind of just showed that he was doing okay despite everything that hit him. He held on. That's another thing. The iron and the gray kind of give it an industrial look, because he lived in an industrial. He lived in a concentration camp, but before that he lived in ghettos. It was very industrial. It wasn't really at home, I guess you would say. Now, as we go into the third section, before I go on, I'm just gonna say Victor Rona, he actually survived all the way through in his concentration camp. He was liberated in 1945, but he died about a week later from a bayonet wound in his shoulder. So, in memory of him, he didn't even die in the concentration camp. He died free. So that was one thing that like really stood out to me. He died a free person. I think that was probably really good for him. So as you can see here, we kind of have this tunnel. This goes up into heaven. So, let me just grab a minecart. Sorry, left it up there accidentally. Here we go. So, this kind of like is a little tunnel leading up to heaven. We have heaven in the sky, because it kind of shows that he was above everything, and heaven is always depicted as being in the sky. Oops. Oh well. I'm sure you guys won't care, you that are watching this. But anyways, this leads up into heaven. I know it's kind of affected and ruined by the rain, but it kind of shows that his life, it kind of just like went above and beyond. And also we have in the sky, because heaven is just kind of in the sky. It shows that it was over, but he was good. If you'll notice, we have this marble, because it kind of gives it a light feeling, as well as the glowstone. It just kind of gives it a good feeling, like, or he's light, he's up in heaven, he's happy. We have a rainbow, because it kind of shows like the transition of his life. His life like went into heaven, it went from something bad to something good. And if you'll notice up here, this is his memorial. This is like his remembrance place. So we have in loving memory of Victor Rona, December 26, 1928 through 1945. He had a cool hat. Yes, he did have a cool hat. That's actually why we chose him. So, as you can see, we got kind of marble and grass just to represent like his life, because grass is living. If you notice, we kind of have a red color scheme going on here. But what this red represents actually is his perseverance, his bravery, his determination. Red represents all of those traits. So we chose that color because he demonstrated that better than anything else I can imagine. He's put in the worst possible situation he could be as a young person, and he actually pushed through it. He survived. If you see all this red, you have red stone blocks, you have red flowers, you have red beacons shining up the sky, red stone torches. And we try to make that a really big part because the fact that he persevered and actually survived and lived long enough to be freed by the people, like the fact that he lived long enough and he lived through all those things, that really stood out to me. Another reason you might wonder, well, like why so many of these things? But if you really count carefully, Victor Rona, he died at the age of 16. And so we kind of represent that in multiple ways. First of all, if you count these redstone blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have 16 redstone blocks to represent his age. 16 flowers, if you count them carefully. 16 red flowers, and also 16 torches on his monument. Redstone torches. Kind of show this because the age at which he died, it's kind of like important for everyone. Like, no matter what kind of life you live in. Also, 16, it's such a young age to die at. So I think it was kind of important to show that he did not live very long. He did live for 16, which is more than some other people, but he still didn't live a very long life. The fact that he made such a good life out of it, that's what stood out to us as well. We have the waterfall just because it kind of gives it a more aesthetic feeling. Gives it a nice feeling, you know, like a waterfall. And as you'll notice, you're probably wondering why don't we have Star of David up here? Like the other two, right? Because we had all of them on the second ones, but why not the third one? The answer is he was in heaven, right? And we chose not to put a Star of David up here because he was no longer represented by his religion, or you know, he wasn't looked at by what he worshipped, the fact that he was a Jew. He was just another person up here in heaven. So we decided not to give it to him, show that, because he was just a person. And now that he was free from all the segregation, all the misery caused just because he was a Jew, we didn't need to represent it because it was based on who he was, not what religion he worshipped. So, as you can see, let's just kind of take a review, you know. Victor Rona, he was a really great person. He lived a really great life just from the very start. And when things got hard, he pushed on through it no matter what. He kind of like struggled to push on through everything that happened, and that's why we chose him for our project. Even when starting out his great childhood, then going to his crappy life in the ghettos, and lastly his concentration camp life. He always showed the will to survive and struggling and perseverance. He just lived a really great life, and that's our memorial for Victor Rona. He will be remembered forever. Victor Rona, December 26, 1928 through 1945. Amen.